All right, we're thrilled you guys can join us today. Thank you for coming. Um, Michelle and Jody and Leslie and Jackie and Bobby and Diana, Petra. I love seeing all these people. This is wonderful. I'm Sara Kooperman, and I'm the SCW. I'm the S of SCW. So I own SCW Fitness Education and Water in Motion and the new SEAT program, which is Seat Fitness, which is a chair program choreographed by Ann Gilbert, which is very exciting. But I'm really excited to be here with you today because we're talking about hormones and training your female clients. But basically, I don't care about anybody else. I want to learn about me. So I get to ask the questions. That's the best thing of running these webinars. We have Adam helping us, who's a slug and just got back from a fabulous vacation, and we love him and we're glad he's home. I have wonderful presenters. I have some of my favorite ladies on. I really love them. Jessica Maurer is an amazing social media person, but she's a consultant. She's currently the Senior Director of Instructor Development at Fit for Moms. So she really specializes in pregnancy and postpartum and things like that. She's also a consultant for other well-known fitness brands, and she continues to offer consulting services basically all over, not just locally, but worldwide. And we have Amber Toole with us, who looks just fabulous and got her head straight for the webinar. We're very excited about that too. She's got a degree in physical education and health, and she educates, she coaches, she trains, she teaches, she does everything. She's passionate about spreading the truth about health and wellness. And it's her life goal to share self-care through safe and effective exercise, proper nutrition, stress management techniques, recovery, and rest. Really cool. She's got her master's degree. Actually, Pat Van Galen, who's joining us. Hello, say hi, Pat. We're very excited to have Pat here. She's joined us on many of our live stream manias. We haven't gotten her back yet into the live conferences. We're working on that. She's got her master's in exercise science, and we're not even going to ask her about the PhD. It goes on and on. She brings 40 years of experience across the movement disciplines, from training, teaching, coaching, lecturing, writing, conducting workshops, and certifications in the US and abroad. She's presented all over the world. We're very excited Pat has joined us. And we also have the beautiful Deborah Atkinson, who, yes, look at her. She's glowing. She just finished working out. I'm totally jealous. She's got her master's degree. She's also a CSCS certified instructor, and she's the founder of Flipping 50, and she is a podcast host, TEDx speaker, and international presenter at prominent industry conventions. And that's actually where I met her, at the AB show. Remember that, Deborah?
I do.
Loved it. It was on women in exercise and aging. And then we have the fantastic Melissa Lane, who is, we're very excited to have Melissa here. Melissa has authored, oh my gosh, so much. The SCW Nutrition, Hormones, and Metabolism certification, the Coaching for Fitness Professional certification, and she's done some substantial editing on the SCW Active Aging certification. She lectures all over everywhere. She's authored a water exercise book. She's in the kinesiology department, a faculty member at the University of North Georgia. So she has an expertise of taking sophisticated material and being able to make it so that even Adam can digest it, even I can digest it. So I really love this. So, we're going to launch right into this. We have 45 minutes. I always keep my introductions really short and sweet. Move your mouse, everybody who's watching. You're going to see the green share screen button. Go to the left, go to that chat box, type in now just where you're from, where you guys are from, all over the country. And we get people from all over the world on our webinars. I got somebody from Wisconsin, Reston, Virginia, Rosemont, Illinois, Alabama. So type in. The beauty of these webinars is we have, I think right now it's just over 180 people registered. We have more people listening to the recordings than we do listening live. So you guys are live. I promise you, I'm going to read that chat box. So if you have questions, these amazing ladies will really be able to answer them for you. New York, Utah, Illinois, Canton, Ohio, Lafayette, New Jersey, New Rochelle, New York, New Hampshire. All these people love this. Okay, guys. Are there any, the first thing I asked was, are there any standard training techniques? But I think it's important, how do you introduce yourself, evaluate your clients that are going through different hormone changes? I'm going to start with you, Jessica, just because I think you deal with the beginning of those hormones with the pregnancies. And how do you do your assessments or introductions with these individuals?
Well, with our prenatal clients, we always want to make sure that we start off with a good health history. We understand where she is in her pregnancy, how many pregnancies she's had prior, and what condition she's in when she starts with us. Like, what did she do prior to becoming pregnant? For the most part, she should be able to continue with those exercises that she was doing before, just not exceeding the intensity that she was doing prior to learning that she was pregnant. For most of the people, they don't realize they're pregnant until they're going into their second trimester anyway, until that's when they start to really feel it and understand that there are changes happening, and now they've got to figure out their next step in life. So for the most part, we just want to make sure that we understand what was she doing prior, and then most importantly, how is she feeling each day? So we can have all of these health histories, we can have all the information, but really and truly every pregnancy is different and every mother is different. So every single day that she comes to us for a class or a session, we want to make sure, okay, how are you feeling? How are your knees today? Can you see your feet? When's the last time you went to the bathroom? Are you sleeping? Like, going through the natural questions that we want to make sure that we understand how she's functioning, physically and mentally, as well as emotionally. All of that has to do with where she is in terms of her pregnancy. And we do the same postnatally. A recently postnatal mom is going to have a lot of the same issues that a prenatal mom does. How do you feel today? Did you sleep? When's the last time you ate? When's the last time you went to the bathroom? How's everything going? We want to make sure that we do a full assessment so we can know how much energy to want and expect from the mom, and how much the mom actually needs to maybe just focus on more of a self-care, going back to breath, going back to posture, instead of focusing so much on intensity.
And what I really love what you said, Jessica, was the daily check-in. Like, you check in with them. And yeah, and we've been listening and reading and absorbing all this information about the importance of people's mental health. And when someone's going through that much of a dramatic change, I mean, there's a lot of emotionality that goes into deciding or being surprised that you are pregnant and bringing another life into this world and responsible for that individual's future, whether you choose to have it or maybe it's going to be somebody else's upbringing. But I love that daily check-in. I do, you guys all know that I'm like kind of like this little freaky lawyer, but I get nervous. If you're going to take your health history and you're going to take your assessment of your clients, you better know the answers to those questions, how to respond to them. Okay, so if you're asking them what medications you're on, or you're asking them how far you're along and how do you feel and how many miscarriages you may have had, or how many pregnancies, what does that mean? What does it mean? So if you ask those things, be sure that you make sure you use it. You also do an assessment with your clients, Deborah, as well. And I love the way you responded to that.
Yeah, and so very much like what Jessica's mentioning, we do it at the beginning, and it's a self-assessment. And so it's all the things that are related to hormones, not just the exercise influence on hormones and hormones influence on exercise. But first, I mean, how clear are you thinking? How's your brain fog? Are you pooping? How's your libido? Where's your digestion? Do you have gas? Do you have bloating? Are you eliminating correctly, meaning more than once a week? Because a lot of women think that's normal, right? So it's checking in with all of those little pieces so that we can help them. Sleep is the obvious one. Hot flashes are the obvious one. They link those to menopause, but they don't necessarily link the others to, these are hormone disruptions going on as well. So checking in with how that is gives you a clue into maybe how we need to handle today or this coming week, or looking at how did you handle that last week when you were feeling that way, making sure they're not trying to push through to accomplish whatever that program was, and they're course correcting every day.
Oh, that's great. Course correcting. I like that word. Melissa, I'm looking at you. You're looking down. You're taking notes. I'm getting a little nervous.
I'm taking notes.
You have to share with us.
I don't train clients currently, so I would not like to participate in the client training.
But the assessment, when you find out someone's not sleeping well, when you find somebody might be constipated, or if you find out somebody that is going through perimenopause, or going through menopause or perimenopausal, when you're evaluating them, or what are things that we can keep in mind, maybe not as a practitioner, but maybe as a clinician?
Well, I think the biggest thing these days, and we've talked about this before on other webinars, and it's what Deborah hit on, and Jessica did too, when she said, when was the last time you slept? People don't realize the effect that sleep has on your health. We all know the fitness industry is moving towards a big push of rest, recovery, relax, not doing HIIT training every day, no matter how old you are, because of our cortisol levels. And naturally, cortisol levels should drop towards night. That's what makes you go to sleep. But think if you have a pregnant woman, or even someone who's just after their pregnancy and they're stressed about whatever is going on with their child, their cortisol levels are going to be high. When your cortisol levels are high and you're not sleeping, it's going to throw off everything that happens in your workout. Same thing with estrogen levels. Estrogen directly affects your serotonin, and serotonin directly affects your melatonin. So I think sleep is a big push that we really have to ask everybody.
Yeah, that's a great question. Pat, what are some of the questions that you ask in your health history inquiry?
I would say that mine is pretty much a total health and well-being assessment. So it's not only just the women issues, but the sleep, there's food, the whole patterning, injury history. First part of my questionnaire is, what do you like to do? What do you do physically? The whole first part of the questionnaire is nothing to do medical. It's tell me about you, what you like to do, what have you been doing for the past few years, what do you hope to do again? And then we get into the nitty-gritty of all the different, I call them pillars of hardiness. So you've got your purpose, your reason to get up in the morning, your movement pillar, your diet pillar, your rhythms pillar, which is basically rest, recovery, regeneration, and then the stress pillar, thrive on it. Survive it, but thrive on it. So a lot of these things, you can't, like on the intake, when you're talking and speaking and trying to develop a relationship with them, I taken in the information, but I'm not going to drill down into all kinds of personal life issues until we get them moving, and then they get more comfortable with me. And then what happens, you get into the other pillars. Because as you said, Sara, you got to know, if you're asking certain personal questions, you got to know how to respond if certain answers come up. But remember, they came to us to move better, to make their lives better. So we can't keep drilling in on everything that's wrong with them. We got to get them moving, get confident, confident, and then we start peeling away at the smaller things. And back to what Melissa was saying, about the sleep thing. When you have babies, you don't sleep. Don't even worry about it. We've got so many people now obsessed with sleep hygiene they're so stressed out about sleeping, they can't sleep. So it's a big picture thing. So,
Yeah, you also mentioned something really interesting. I think this was on another webinar that we did on aging. And you mentioned that you also talk to people, what is their goal? Like a lot of times clients come to, what is your goal? Well, I want to go to my grandson's bar mitzvah.
specific, yeah.
I want to go in I'm going to climb this mountain, blah, blah, blah. And it gives them like a focus, gets them out of themselves so that they can actually focus on something outside. So that kind of goes with your whole philosophy of sometimes pulling them away.
Yeah.
Amber, what are some of the standard training techniques you use with your female clients? Because I know you deal with a wide variety, but definitely women are your specialty.
Yes, and I actually attract a lot of over 50 females that come in. And one of the things that I find with them, they come to me and what they say is, I want to lose weight. You know, that's their main goal when they first start. And now I'm speaking in the people that I've worked with, I see a lot of times, I love what all the ladies are talking about, making sure we're getting all of those pillars in and teaching them and coaching them to sleep well and to make sure that they're doing some recovery work and they're not, you know, working themselves to death. But what I find a lot of times is most of them are, if they're doing any exercise at all, a lot of times they think they have to run out and do like this really long cardio. And the other thing is they're under eating because they think, oh, I've got to drop my calories really low so I can lose this weight. So those standard principles that I use with them when they come in is I try to get them to look at their nutrition and make sure that we're eating a little bit more towards the whole foods, make sure that they're getting that caloric intake up. And also with their workouts, I want them to start focusing on the strength training because we know that as we age, we're losing muscle mass. And then if you're a woman and you're going through perimenopause and menopause, that's going to speed up a little bit. So what do we need to do to maintain that muscle mass? We know that strength training is so very important for that. So I really try to get everybody on that path. And then of course, work in the other things like the recovery work, the core and pelvic floor work, the balance work, the getting down and up off of the floor, that mobility and flexibility so that they can play with their grandkids on the floor and then get back up. So those are some of the things that I start with. And of course, it's a huge bag of things that we need to work on. So it's a little bit at the time and then teaching them as I go through that process with them.
Yeah, and Melissa, what are your thoughts on, obviously we know how important strength training is. We know that whole motor units die as we age. What are your thoughts on that and how that affects the hormones in the body, and what positive effects would strength training have on those?
Well, I think I'm going to start with your last question first. We hear so much about people saying, are you doing cardio? Are you doing HIIT? Are you doing strength training? Can we just stop and think for a minute? In the world of exercise physiology, your body does not know what you're doing. It has no clue. It only knows, do the muscles that are involved need more oxygen, less oxygen, more blood flow, less blood flow? What hormones come out depending on what you're doing? So I think if we focus more on how intense are we working, but I'm not finished, because we know, this is Len Kravitz's research, that strength training increases a hormone. It's got a number and a letter, and it's called hormonal lipase. And if you will strength train, you actually let this hormonal lipase out. Anything that ends in ASC is an enzyme. Anything that starts with LIP means fat. So it's an enzyme that burns fat. So strength training increases hormonal lipase. Cardio does not increase hormonal lipase. So that's something we have to teach our people. Also, strength training, of course, builds the size of your muscle fiber, especially your fast twitch. If you use fast twitch muscle fibers, and you increase a protein in your body called albumin. Albumin is the protein that carries fat from your boob, your breast, the back of your arm, wherever you hold it, to your site of metabolism. Cardiovascular work does not increase albumin. So if we look at the benefits of strength training, as well as increasing our testosterone levels through natural ways, the benefits are all there about how we can become not only leaner, but healthier too.
I think that we're done. Mic drop. Okay, we're good.
So, but you don't, Deborah, you don't only do strength training.
No, but I definitely emphasize it, and I definitely hear over and over, I need to do cardio to burn fat. How am I ever going to find time to strength train? That is every woman right now over 50. Hopefully in 10 years and 20 years, that won't be the case because we're educating them better younger. But right now, that's absolutely it. But strength training is a girl's best friend over 50. It is the way to longevity.
Yeah, and it's a way to prevent injury. That's
right.
Something that I have discovered. Like when I stopped strength training because I don't know what I started doing with the dog or whatever. That's the only time I get injured, when I'm not strength training. Now we got a great question from Judy. How intense does the strength training need to be to increase lipase, Melissa?
Okay, so you have to remember that every muscle has slow twitch fibers and fast twitch fibers, and they lay in your muscle like this. If this is slow twitch will always start an exercise, and slow twitch will work oxidatively until they cannot carry the load oxidatively anymore. Then they recruit the fast twitch. Hypertrophy occurs easier in fast twitch fibers. So you need to reach an intensity that will only take you to about 5 to 8 reps to be intense enough to hit your fast twitch, which will break down the muscle fiber, which will stimulate the hormonal lipase. So you're aiming for 5 to 8 repetitions.
That are heavy and difficult to lift, but you maintain proper posture and alignment.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask? Yes. So somebody out there is thinking, but I've got clients that can't lift heavy. So that's where we play with tempo. And we start changing, we go slower, we do the holds at the beginning and the end, so we can make it more accessible to more people.
And how do your clients respond to that, Deborah? How have you been able to you're like spoon feeding, you're like teasing them into this. It's great.
No, I'm like slapping them. Yeah. I'm like, wake up right now. We are going to do this now and be thankful tomorrow, or we're not going to do it and be wishing we did. You have 2 choices. Where are you at?
Oh, that's so
plain
funny.
Truth. Yeah.
I really, really like that. I really like that. I think that's great. So how can we adjust our training during our menstrual cycle for hormonal impact, that it causes, that your menstrual cycle causes? How do you adjust the training? I'm going to jump back to you, Jessica.
Well, I think that with a lot of the moms that we work with, obviously prenatal, they're not going to have that much of an issue. They'll have a lot more hormonals happening, but postnatally, as they start to come back to their cycle, we really want to make sure that we are advocating, again, that they're listening to what their body has to say each and every day, and making sure that they're not getting into an overtraining aspect of, on the day that you feel amazing, going at it so hard that you forget form and pace and everything because you feel so amazing in that upswing. We want to make sure that they're really slowly progressing, not taking 7 steps forward only to regret that the next day. So even though you feel really amazing, you have this surge of energy, this hormonal rush that's going through based on your cycle, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to always go out and just kill it. And make sure you're moving in a slow, progressive manner so that it makes sense for your body to be able to adapt.
Very good. Melissa, what's physiologically happening in the body when a woman goes into menstruation, is menstruating and coming out? And I know we're talking estrogen, progesterone, etc.
So in your 4 or 5 days, 7 days that you're on your period, you don't have a dominant hormone. But when you come off your period, you are higher in estrogen for about 2 weeks. Estrogen is going to make your serotonin levels high, your melatonin levels high. You're going to cleave the glycerol molecule off of your triglycerides, which makes your free fatty acids available for lipolysis. So if you are going to do more oxidative things, it's the first 2 weeks after your period. And then progesterone actually increases your central nervous system efficiency. You recruit more motor units. You're going to have maybe a higher level of hyperinsulinemia. You're going to pack more glycogen into your liver. So this is where you're going to be more successful at HIIT. But again, like we said before it started, America is obsessed with HIIT training, and HIIT training raises your cortisol levels. So when you HIIT train, most endocrinologists and cardiologists are going to tell you 2 times a week, ideally 3 times maximum, but we have studios that are kicking it and say, come do HIIT training with us
every day
of the week. Absolutely not. Your cortisol levels then become chronically high.
Well, it's like, doesn't exercise also reduce your cortisol levels? So
if you have acute levels, you want your cortisol levels to rock and roll. You don't want your cortisol levels to stay up here. So if you're going to do HIIT training on Monday, do yoga on Tuesday. If you're going to go with Deborah and have her kick your butt on Wednesday with strength training, go do Pilates on Thursday.
Yep.
Variety is the spice of life.
Totally is. You know, and there was a study that was done and it came out probably within the last 5 years, but it was looking back at, you know, the longevity that we've had and the trending we've had with HIIT training and the corresponding injury rate. So based on that information, I tell my women every week you've got 45 minutes in your HIIT bank. That's all you can spend. And if you're a beginner or you've got adrenal issues, I don't even want you to spend that, but no more than that. So you could break that into 3 little 15 minutes or 2, maybe 20 minutes. And maybe you don't even start there, but that gives them an idea of, you know, injury rates go up and it may tell them, okay, that's a tangible thing. I don't want to be hurt again.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Deborah made a good point. A lot of America does not understand the difference between high intensity interval training and high volume intensity training. What most of America is doing is high volume. Volume is time under tension. You shouldn't have a high intensity 45-minute class. That's high volume. Like Deborah said, high intensity interval training means your intensity is high. And we all know the higher your intensity, the shorter your duration. Look at true Tabata training. True Dr. Tabata HIIT training. What is the protocol for true HIIT training? It's 170% of your VO2 max. How many people do 170% of their VO2 max? Dr. Tabata's test subjects.
Olympic athletes.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
Interesting. Pat, so do you do HIIT training with your clients? And what are the age groups that you particularly work with?
Well, there's always that answer. It depends. But it depends what they've been doing for all these years, and I would say decades. But again, HIIT is relative to the person. So HIIT for Sara compared to me, it could be, and we might be the same age, same everything, but could be completely different. So, but I definitely twice a week max. Twice a week max. If it's a client and I'm laying out a 7-day plan, walk every day for 30 minutes. Just do it. And if you're 50 or more, walk every day for 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be straight. That is absolutely key to cardiometabolic health. A couple HIIT, and then there's a lot of other things we can do. But when I look at movement, the movement pillar, there's 3 parts. It's not just training. That's one piece. Training is one piece. The first one is move your rear end, get out of the chair, walk, step, get down on the floor, walk your dog, do chores, open your wine bottle with the screwdriver. Don't get the darn electronic machine. Move, total movement. And then the third part is fun. Do something that's fun that involves movement. Cross-country ski, dance. But the training is one piece. That's the piece that's the springboard so you can work, labor, play, compete. But just getting out of the chair, that is, don't expect to do 30 minutes workout and park your ass the rest of the day, because it's not going to cut it when you're past 50. It's not going to do it for cardiometabolic health or for strength and power. And back to what you guys were all talking about, the missing component is power and speed. We want strength, but the brain only recruits what it needs to get the job done. And movement, what happens to people as they age? They slow down. Why? Because you never have to move fast. So move your body fast, move a weight fast, whatever it happens to be. Of course, you got to be smart about it. But yeah, strength is important to maintain muscle and to maintain metabolic health. But if you want to move really well for a very long time, power and speed training, including gait speed.
Now, how do you do this? Like in a realistic setting? Talk to me. Like if I went to come work out with you.
Come on up, Sara.
We'd hit the slopes is what we do. But how would you start? How would you start?
Always foam roll, some kind of soft tissue work. Always, 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 always. If you're over 50, that foam roller is your new best friend. Bottom line. Or some other soft tissue stuff. Then we do some basic stretching, mainly thoracic spine and hip mobility work. Then we stand up and we do some more total body stretching. Then we do more dynamic work, traveling knee hugs, pretzels, all kinds of stuff like that. This morning in my class, after we did our minivan prep, we went into shuffles, skips, hops, leaps, things like that. And again, these are 50-plussers. So, you don't do it the first day. And then from there, my first cycle is always a power cycle. It might be med ball slams. This morning we did slam and lateral wall ball. Then we did ninja, laterals, leap and stick, crossover stick, bang, 3 rounds. Fast, hard, and then we go to the strength complexes. And if there's time at the end, sometimes I'll do a hit finisher, but that's often, it depends on what I'm doing in the day, but I always do power work, always.
But it gives them the strength, the mobility, the power. It's a real variety, and you're
7 buckets.
You're still working
7 buckets that I try to fill.
Okay, and you're
buy-in, suppleness, stability, gait speed, strength and power, skills, agility, balance, coordination, power, reaction, speed, stamina, and then the last one is specifics. That's all about you. So I was talking before about get to know the person, and then you worry about the stuff that, why they're there. Like, oh, maybe I have metabolic syndrome, or my cholesterol's high, or whatever, I can't sleep, So yeah, but it that doesn't happen the first day. It might to you because you train, but a beginner, no, it takes a while, and they build on each other. You know, you don't add load if somebody can't even do a halfway decent squat. And
Right,
you don't add speed until they can do, you know, it's a layering.
Whoa. Okay, so Amber, we're gonna be sitting here for the next 45 minutes listening to Pat's workout.
Go on, just cut me off.
I can't. I'm enjoying it. That's why I can't. Amber, how do you work with your clients? Because it you know, you're hearing with slam balls and throwing it around. Training your female clients, what do you tend to do as a similar format with your groups, or do you have a set group like that meets 3 times a week? And how do you structure it?
So we have classes here, and then also do small group personal training, and then one-on-one personal training. So like you said in the beginning, I do a little bit of it all. And I find it very interesting that each of us have mentioned that it really is according to the client, how they feel that day, what their goals are. So there is a process that I go through, but if I say to you, if you come in and I look at you and I say, Sarah, are you okay today? And, you know, how are you feeling? And you're like, man, I'm having a real draggy day. I haven't slept. I don't feel good. There's no way I'm going to take you and put you through the paces. All right. I'm going to immediately change. If that's what I had planned for you, I'm going to change it really quickly and do something that's going to help you increase your energy, feel better, but also feel like you did something. So when it comes to my groups coming in, I love what Pat was saying. We do a little bit of the same thing. It's a little bit of everything, because we want to make sure that we are increasing their strength. We are working on their power and their speed and their agility and their balance. All of these things are so very important. So I vary it for each of the classes, but I always include that strength training. And you were talking earlier about the HIIT. I agree with, I don't know who said that, maybe Melissa, like 1 to 2 HIIT a week is sufficient. And our HIIT class here is very short. It's about a 20-minute class. When you look at it, we do a warm up and a cool down, and we work on that intensity level. We only do that once a week because we don't want to increase those cortisol levels and make it worse for our people. So it really is, it's dependent on the client, their goals, and how they're feeling that day. But definitely following that strength training for sure to maintain that muscle mass. I harp on that a lot because it is so very important.
And how long, Melissa, do the cortisol levels stay elevated after a HIIT program?
That totally depends. It's totally individual on your adrenal glands, what's happening in the body, what the rest of your life is like. And again, HIIT training is different for everybody, but the more intense something is, the higher your levels. The lower intensity, the less the levels. And of course, it all depends on things like, are you sleeping? Like we've all talked about, it's one big picture. There's no particular time that it stays elevated.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more scientific question because, again, it's my webinar. I have learned so much over this pandemic about myself, okay? But like, I love hot yoga. My husband loves hot yoga. And maybe it's also because we live in Chicago and it's cold and you finally go in and it's just like, and I feel like I can move, and I can move quicker in a hot yoga class than I can in a regular yoga class. How does that deal with your hormone levels? And do you recommend that type of training? I know we're focusing on strength. We get it, check the box. I know we've been talking about HIIT, but I was thinking about, you know, how yoga affects the body and also hot yoga specifically. Melissa.
You want me to do that? I'm not a yoga expert, but when you do add heat to the big picture, the reason you move more efficiently is because of the changes in your cardiac output and your stroke volume. and the changes that are happening to your plasma level and where you're vasodilating and where you are vasoconstricting in different parts of your body. But as far as the hormonal levels in hot yoga, I would not think your cortisol levels would rise. I'm not a yoga expert.
And Deborah, I saw you kind of moving. Do you have any
Well, I
opinions
was
on
plugging in my earbuds, but
that?
you know, I would think that status wise, and again, this is theory because I can't talk to, I mean, we know what happens with yoga. We know that, I mean, unless you're a phobic to yoga tights, you know, your yoga tends to decrease cortisol levels, increases the ability to focus and concentrate and problem solve. So overall, I think it's still going to have a decreasing effect, but it would have an effect on, you know, I mean, if you went into that hot yoga class, I mean, those are not hard, those are not easy classes, depending on if you're going through traditional hot yoga. And if you came in sleep deprived, I think it could still potentially have a negative effect on your cortisol and your adrenals. So I think it's, again, one of those, how are you feeling today? Is it a day you should be going to that? Even if it's 20 below in Chicago, maybe not.
So yeah, I always wonder about the cortisol levels, how it affects hot yoga. I mean, because, you know, it does feel like a more focused, less competitive workout. And I always think about the mental end as well as the physical end. And like you recommended, Melissa, it's naturally at least my personal workout has turned into yoga strength, and then I'll take a day where I'm just, you know, I walk the dog every day. Thank you, Pat. At least 30
Yoga
minutes.
and walk, the perfect day.
Yeah, and then I'll do a walk. And I think that's interesting. How do you counsel someone, Amber, if you want them to pull back a little bit, you see them going a little bit nutsy?
Yeah, and this can be difficult. I also attract type A people who, for some reason, who just go all out. And it's trying to get them to understand. And I love that you're bringing up yoga, because like Deborah said, that's going to bring your cortisol levels down. We know that that helps reduce our stress in a positive way. And that's one of those big pillars, one of those big blocks that we need to focus on, is to bring that stress level down, because we're all stressed at some point. And so when I've got a client who's coming in and they are just trying to go full force and overtrain, I try to educate them and say, are you getting sick more often? Are you having these recurring injuries? This is your body trying to tell you that you are doing too much. And this is not helping you. I want you to be well and healthy, and you're pushing this just a little bit too hard. So trying to teach them things like, if they don't like yoga, because I have some people that come in and they're like, I can't stand yoga because they can't slow that mind down, right? They don't like that deep breathing and sitting still. That's not their personality. I've got to find another way to help them back off a little bit and bring it back. So maybe I teach them some foam rolling and some self-myofascial release. Maybe I teach them some stretches. Maybe I just work on deep breathing, and then sometimes kind of linking it together so that they go, oh, this is yoga that I'm doing. It isn't so bad, because a lot of them have this idea that they've got to meditate and bring it all down. And, you know, it doesn't have to be that. If I can just get you to stretch and take a few deep breaths, that's great. So I sneak it in on them a little at the time.
Sneak it in. That's so funny, because I've taught yoga for so long, and I'm always like, people are like, you, at the beginning, they were like, you teach yoga? And I was like, do you think I need it? You know, it's like, that's why we teach it. All right, I'm going to show you guys. We always try to show videos at the end. We have a great new video, and I'm really excited about this. I'm not selling anything in it. What I'm excited about is that I've been doing a lot of research. I do a talk show with IHRSA, the International Health and Racquet Sports Association. I do it with three big boys in the fitness industry, and I'm always like the only chick on the panel. And so I do a lot of research, and to make sure that my 2 to 3 topics that I talk about every week are really on point. And one thing, I did a tremendous amount of research on the industry coming back. And so I want to play this for you. If I can figure out how to share my screen. There we go. There we go. Here we go. All right. So I just love looking what's going on in our industry. And it doesn't necessarily mean like Peloton is necessarily losing money. It's what they've done is they've really been slowing down their growth. Chegg, that does online training and education for college students, it's slowing down online. Zoom has dramatically slowed down, except, you know, these fabulous webinars. We do love Zoom. But I think this is fascinating. And if you look at all the larger health clubs like Lifetime Fitness and the larger chains like Crunch, F45, Planet Fitness, they are growing by leaps and bounds, and they're opening their doors. And I know a lot of us may not work there. We may work at the YMCA or a rec center or an independent health club. But when one does well, the whole industry thrives. So I'm crossing my fingers, guys. I have people are out there getting boosters, where I know there's another variant that they think is around the corner, but it seems like things feel like they're lifting a little bit. So I welcome you all to all our webinars. Thank you so much, Jessica, Amber, Melissa, Pat, and Deborah. Really appreciate it. Adam, we love you, man. We're glad to have you back. And if you want to see Adam's man bun live and in person, it's Boston Mania, not this weekend. Next weekend. And then we're going to be in DC at the end of February. And then the whole chain begins. So we're so excited. We're going live. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Again, thank you, Adam. We're so glad to have you back. All right, guys, you all have a great night.